What's up everybody, Tiakum here with Sew Yeah Quilting. Today I'm going to show you how you make this floppy-eared cat quilt. Let's get started. Now we're going to dive right on into the project. As you can see in front of me, I've already gone ahead and pre-cut all of my fabric. And also you can see that I have a lot of different shapes and sizes here. This is due to a couple different things. If we look back at this quilt behind me, you'll see that I have a standing up cat and a laying down cat. But not only that, I have a left facing and a right facing cat. So I'm going to go through all this, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to just have the measurements appear on screen. And as always, we're going to leave instructions on how to make this in the description below. Now what I'm going to do, that we've seen all of our numbers, is we're going to start with this cat right here. So I'm going to move all these other pieces aside, and we're just going to focus on the standing up tall cat. The very first step is to do the ears. We're going to take one of our little square pieces, we'll fold it in half, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam down either side. Once we sewed this seam, we're just going to flip it right side out. Take a purple thing if you have one, this helps a lot, just to get it all the way turned out right. So something to be mindful of, if you clip the corner of your ear, it'll end up more pointy than round. In this case, I want them to be a little bit more round, so I didn't clip my corner here. So right there is the very first ear. I'm going to do the same to the other side. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn them just like this, sew a 1/4 inch seam down. And same thing, flip it right side out. And a purple thing works, or any kind of turn stick or anything. I mean, a pencil would probably work too, but I prefer this purple thing. Just like that. The next step that we want to do is build this portion of our cat. Really, really simple to do. What we're going to do is grab our white strip and our print strip, lay them down just like so, just as if we're going to do a binding. We're going to sew across corner to corner and then open it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And this should open up just like binding would, just like so. Now what I'm going to do is take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut 1/4 inch away from the seam that we just made. Throw this aside and open this up. I'm going to take this over to the iron and press it out so it's nice and flat. So now that we've sewn this side, something to be mindful of is I've sewn this from the top right corner down to the bottom left corner. If we reverse this and I sewed this from the top left corner to the bottom right corner, it would change the direction. Instead of being a right facing cat, they would turn into a left facing cat. But what our next step is to sew our main body of the cat to the top here. So I'm going to just take it like so and 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Take this over to the ironing board and press this out just like so. What our next step is to attach the ears to the top white portion. The way that I like to do this is I line up my ears, and you want about, I don't know, just shy of a 1/2 inch from each side. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tack this down with like an 1/8 inch seam. I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine. I'm just going to tack these guys down. So I'm not doing quite a 1/4 inch, just a little bit less. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this piece to our main body of our cat. So I'm going to lay it down, and this is where I'm going to sew my full 1/4 inch seam, that way I don't see any excess threads. I'm going to take this on over to the ironing board and iron this open, and there's the body of the cat. And like I said, if we want to make this a right facing cat or a left facing cat, all we have to do is change this angle to the other side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach these two pieces together by putting them right sides together, and we're going to make sure our seams halfway up the body line up and sew a 1/4 inch seam. And that's what our finished product looks like. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch more of these, both the left and the right facing cats, and we'll be right back. Now that I've finished all my standing cats, both the left sides and the right ones, it's time to work on the second cat. Right here I have the fabric in front of me, and what we're going to do to start with, just like in the first one, is with the ears. We're going to fold our little squares here in half and sew a 1/4 inch seam down. So there's the first ear, do the same to the second ear, just like that. Now we're going to work on this portion of our cat, and again, to make something left or right sided is real simple. To make this cat face right, we're going to take our little white square here, put it on the top left corner, and sew from the bottom left edge all the way to the top left edge. To make this flip-flop, all we have to do is take our square and put it on the right side, and sew from the bottom right edge to the top left edge. I need this to be a right facing cat, so I'm going to put it back on the other side. I'm going to sew corner to corner. Once we've sewn our corners, we're going to take our scissors and we are going to cut, just like on the other one, 1/4 inch away from our seam. I'm going to take this over to the ironing board and press this open, just like that. Now I'm going to add the top white portion to the body. Just put my right sides together and sew our 1/4 inch seam. Again, taking this over to the ironing board, making sure to set my seam. So the body portion of the cat is done. Now we're going to move on to the actual cat itself. I'm going to take my small square and my small rectangle, put them right sides together, and sew my 1/4 inch seam. Take this over to the ironing board, get everything ironed out. Now, just on like the last one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my ears down. I'm going to sew that 1/8 of an inch seam all the way down, just so I can tack these ears on exactly where I want them. Again, leaving about 1/2 inch on both sides. Now that I have these sewn, what I'm going to do is, just like on the last cat, I'm going to put my right sides together and sew my 1/4 inch all the way down. That way I don't see this 1/8 inch seam that I've already made. Now that we have both the body and the main part of the cat finished, we're going to take right sides together and sew our 1/4 inch seam. And take this over to my ironing board once more and iron this out. So there we have our laying down cat and our standing up cat. Let me grab all the other ones so I can show you how you assemble this quilt. So now it's time to assemble the quilt itself. As you can see in front of me, I have 2 laying down cats that are facing each other and 2 standing up cats that are facing each other. It takes 4 cats to make a block. So what we have to do is cut 2.5 inch strips, and what we're going to do is lay them down right sides together, and we're essentially going to put a little sashing in between all of the cats. So I'm going to just lay this right sides together. Now I'm going to open this up. As you can see, I have a long tail here, but we'll be using that tail in just a second for the next block. And I'm just going to take a ruler, line it up with the bottom of my cat, and I cut it off flush with the cat. Just like that, and we're going to use this strip here in just a second. I'm also going to do that to the top. Now is a great time to square up the block if it needs any squaring, which I'm going to take advantage of that right now just to get that little fuzz off the top. So there is our first piece. Now we're going to take and sew this blue cat here onto the sashing that we just sewed. Just like this. And if you run into this same problem, where as you can see here I'm just a little bit off, all I'm going to do is trim this back down just a little bit. It's only like maybe 1/8 of an inch. That way everything stays straight. Now what we do is we're going to put a sashing right here in between both the top and the bottom. I'm going to take this, I'm going to lay this down. Something to be super mindful of. These little cat ears will stick up past our sashing just by a little bit. So we're going to take these and we're going to fold these down. And you can either iron them or pin them down. I'm just going to iron them real quick. Just like this. So I have that ironed down. I'm going to lay my sashing down. And again, so my 1/4 inch seam all the way down. And now is a really good time to iron back up the ears that we pressed down. And we're going to repeat the same step of just chopping off these ends, making sure everything lines up with your block. Now I already have another one of these sewn, so I'm going to just move these aside so I can put on my top block. We're going to just put it right sides together. And right here, that is what the finished block looks like. I'm going to go and put a couple more of these together, and I'm going to show you how you connect the rows. So now that I've put a couple of these blocks together, I want to show everyone that these rows are vertical rows as opposed to horizontal rows. They're super easy to put together. All you have to do is just put right sides together, just like this, and sew the 1/4 inch seam. You treat them just as if they were horizontal rows, but you're just working in a vertical pattern. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up my vertical rows, and I'm going to show you how you put the sashing in between them. So to put in the center sashing, I just got one really long strip of 2.5 inches wide by, it's probably 80, which is about 20 inches bigger than our quilt top. I'm just going to lay it down right sides together, take this over to the sewing machine and sew it on. Then we're going to iron it open, and then we'll move on to the next side. Now it's time to connect our other side. I'm not sure if you can see this, but I put my sashing seam in the same spot with where my 2 blocks come together. And I did it right in the middle of the quilt top. The reason why I did this is when I pull off my other, or when I want to put on my next row, I can line this up just like this, and that gives me a pretty good reference point of if I'm staying on track. So I'm going to lay this all out, and I'm going to pin this all down so I make sure all my rows and everything line up properly. And then I'm going to take it over to our sewing machine and sew all the way down. Now I'm going to iron this out, make sure I get all my pins. So here's what the quilt top looks like. This was a super fun project to make, and as you saw, as long as you follow it step by step, it's a really easy thing to do. I'm going to finish up this quilt top by putting a simple border all the way around it, just like you see in the quilt behind me. If you liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't be afraid to share this video with your friends. As always, I've left instructions on how to make this in the description below. My name's Tiank, I'm teaching it how to sew like a pro. We'll see you here next week at Sew Yeah Quilting.